please get comfortable with there not being a plan or a blueprint. And part B of that is get comfortable with knowing that this work is a personal journey. Like there will be many people doing the exact same thing as you. But the difference is you. Like no one can create what you can create.
You are now listening to The Gradient Radio, an open space to converse about creativity with creatives. And I am your host, Antonio Knoxx. And today we have a special guest. Today, our guest is a yoga lover, design snob, who is the owner of Rich Methods. Today, our guest is Shay.
Hey. Thank you for the intro.
For sure. How are you?
Today I am half terrified and half really comfortable.
Okay.
I try to answer that question when people ask me it now, instead of saying, good. That's my answer for today.
So for the people who may not know who Shay is, could you introduce?
Of course. So I'm Shay. My real name is Deandria, but I go by Shay. I want to talk about first who I am before what I do. So I'm a wife. I am a godmother. I'm a little sister. I'm a big sister. I'm a daughter. I'm a plant mom. And I'm an artist.
Yeah.
That's about me.
So what is it that you do?
My full-time job, I am a graphic designer and photographer. And then I own my own business doing the exact same thing. So web design or web design and photography. Those are the main things. But I love, I think I love, actually, I'll say also really love to draw. I will say that. That's my other thing that I really still like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get to the point of calling yourself an artist? When was that moment that you declared yourself an artist?
I started calling myself an artist probably, I'd say about 5 years ago, because I hadn't taken an art class until my second year in college. So I started out at Virginia Tech. That's a whole other story. But then I transferred to Hampton University, and I took my first painting class and wasn't a great painter. That's okay. But I just fell in love with the process of art making, or like making actually. And from there, I think that's when like I started drawing, which I still love to do. Don't really get the chance to do, but I think after that, after I got more comfortable and got into, so I transferred from Hampton to VCU, and then I got into the art program there, and I think that's when I was like, oh, I can actually do this, because I was terrified to, apply to the art program because I had never, taken an art class before. So when I finally got in, it took me 3 tries. But when I finally got in, I was like, oh, I feel like I can call myself an artist now. Like, I can do this. So yeah, it took me 3 tries. And then after I got in, I was like, okay, this is it. This is it. I'm an artist.
That's pretty interesting, because most people started from like their childhood, but it seems like yours started in like your early 20s.
Yeah. I feel like I've always been photographing people. So I've been doing that since probably high school, but it was always for me.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't charging people, and I wasn't seeking out clients or anything. I just did it because it came naturally for me.
For sure.
But I never saw it as like a job.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, when I went to school, I realized all the other stuff was not it. And everybody was so sure of like what they wanted to do. And I was just like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I'm always like, when I know something is for me, I know. And when I took that class, I was like, maybe it's not painting, but this is in the realm. Like, we're almost there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's in that, like, creative space.
Yeah. I just loved how people thought. Like, I loved the process. And I loved that there was no, like, path. Like, there was no, like, it's structured, but there is no blueprint to the career of it.
Yeah.
That was interesting to me. It's terrifying, but interesting.
Yeah. For me, it was kind of, like, different because I started off as a kid drawing, and then I got into photography, just, like, taking pictures of myself. And then I had a brand that we had to like document, and we didn't have like capital, so like that's how I got into like video.
True.
But like coming out of high school, I wasn't sure, like just how you said, like there were people who appeared to be like so sure of like the life they wanted to take or like the things they wanted to do, but for me I was like, I don't really I had no idea. I had no idea. So like I think people would see me now and be like, oh, he just like kind of has it like figured out in a sense. But it's like coming out of high school, I had like no idea. But I did make a decision that like if I was going to do this like creative slash art thing, that I was just going to like be the best at it. Yeah, that was the only difference. Because it was like so many other people like coming out of high school that I thought was like better than me. So I was like, I'm going to be better than that person. I want to be better than that person. And so ultimately, like, that's where I'm at now, basically.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, mine was different, mostly because my graduating class was like 120 people, so it wasn't that many. It wasn't that many of us, and a lot of them, weren't going into like an art field.
Yeah.
So it was just like, we'll see.
Yeah. So tell me more about Hampton, because that was like the genesis of it all.
I loved Hampton. I absolutely loved it there. So a little backstory. My older brother and my older sister went to Norfolk State.
Okay.
And so while I was in high school, I like would take trips to Norfolk State and see, it was just the most beautiful, the most Black thing you could ever experience. And it was just like, I want this. And they would sometimes go to Hampton, because it's like right next door. It was a good time. But so I would go down there while I was in high school. But I ended up going to Tech first because of money and grades and things like that.
For sure.
But I realized that Tech was not it for me. It's cold. The experience was nothing like what my brother and sister were having at Norfolk State, and I was just like, I knew it could be different, and so I was like, okay, I gotta get up out of here. Like I'm always that person who, like, when I know, I know. So I was like, I know that I'm leaving a lot of money on the table, like as far as like scholarships and things like that. And going to a place where I was like getting nothing, like absolutely nothing, and the cost was like twice as much. But I was like, I gotta go. So I went and I loved it so much. So yeah, I took my first painting class there, and just really fell in love with the process of making. And then I had to go because the finance was just not there, and it is really expensive
for sure
to go to Hampton. But I feel like I got what I needed, definitely. So I took a break after Hampton, just to like. My mom was like, "Okay, girl." Like, we left this money on the table. We tried this, so we just need a break.
Yeah.
So I took a little break, and then came to VCU with the hopes of getting into the art program, but it's a competitive
super
program,
competitive,
as we all know.
Yeah.
And so that's why I did advertising first, and then did design.
Can you speak a little bit about your perseverance for not stopping and, you know, applying like multiple times?
Yeah, wow. I think I don't know that I can explain it, because I knew, so as my backup plan, I was doing advertising. So I still graduated with one bachelor's degree in advertising, one in design. So I was doing advertising with the hopes of like, I needed that validation of just like, am I an artist? Like, can I do this? So I would apply every year into the foundations program. And in the meantime, I was like watching YouTube, because I had never like learned how to do these things. So definitely watching YouTube, on Instagram. But yeah, just trying to keep learning. And in my third year, I had 1 year left. I finally got into the art program and was like, do I really want to stay 4 more years? Because at that point, you know, my friends from tech were about to graduate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what did I just do? But then I was just like, I think like having ownership over my life and my story has been really important to me. And I feel like I didn't really care how long it took. Like after I got over the hump of just like, my friends are about to graduate, like what does that like make me look like? After I got over that, I was just like, I'm gonna just do it. I just feel like my first instinct was like, yes. And so I was just like, okay, we doing it. Here we are, 4 more years. We here. So I did it, and I graduated in 2017.
I mean, what, 6 years, 5 years ago? Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, time is flying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does not feel that long ago, but yeah, 2017.
Yeah.
I was supposed to finish in 2012.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of had the same feeling, like when it came to, so I went to community college for like 2 years, and then I decided I no longer wanted to go to school.
Yeah.
One, because I didn't want to become in debt, right?
Yeah, that's the thing.
that's the thing. And I was like, you know, what I went to school for, it was like visual arts. And so like the professors we had were some of the professors from VCU.
Yeah.
And the things they were teaching us, like I already knew.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. So like they would ask me like how to do this.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's like, why am I coming to school? Exactly. Right. It's like, why am I coming to school?
Yeah.
And I already know how to.
You.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, I think like if I continue to go forward with this, then potentially I will find my way to being sustainable, because ultimately like that's the goal, to be able to do what you love, but also to be sustainable with it. Yep. And at the time, I didn't really like know that many people, but I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. But I think like every April, May, when I saw like my peers graduating
class,
I was like, yo, did I really make the right decision? Because like, you know, these people are having like diplomas on the wall, and I'm just having like nothing, and I'm doing what I love, but it's like they actually have something tangible to show for it. And so like when you said like when your peers were graduating and you decided to do 4 more years, it's like, should I really do this? But when you said you wanted to have control of your life, you didn't want to like compare your life to theirs and like their journey. I kind of like really felt that.
Yeah, it's so important.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important to like understand that your journey is a personal one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So you eventually got to VCU and you were doing advertisement for the first couple years?
Yeah, the first 3 years were in creative advertising.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I started the art program, and to my sweet surprise, it was like I was thinking we would do like the first year is like foundation stuff. So you're drawing, you're learning how to draw, that kind of stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then we started the program and it was like, oh, we actually aren't using any programs. So we're just like using our hands. And I'm like, I don't think I signed up for this. I don't think I signed up for it. Like, we didn't use like Photoshop or InDesign, like nothing.
Yeah.
Our first like year and a half. And excuse me, when you're thinking of design, you're like, I'm trying to learn these programs.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. But it was, and now looking back, I love how they structured it because it was more about the process,
Mm-hmm.
and not much emphasis was put on the final product, which I really love. And they also were just like, it's not really about the final thing. It's way more about the idea.
Yeah.
Like what we were talking about earlier about technical, difficulties
For
or
sure.
like challenges.
Yeah.
Like we have the content.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
content is
Mm-hmm.
literally the gold part, and the other stuff is like,
Yeah.
it's secondary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. So like, I think that's what I like missed about not going to like school.
Mm.
Because like some of those lessons that like you've learned,
Mm-hmm.
because I went directly to like Photoshop,
True.
like those
Yeah.
programs, so I missed a part of like learning
your
about
idea?
the process, right? Like,
Mhm.
and understanding like things take a process.
Mhm.
Eventually I got to the point of like, okay, like it's a process to
Mhm.
getting to like that idea.
Yep.
But like when you're in school, they just like tell you,
Right.
like this is what you
Yeah.
have to do in order to get to the idea. And I think
Mhm.
like, I mean, there are different ways to go about it, but I think like sometimes like school in many ways like
Mhm.
helped to get you to like that point.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's why I'm yeah. I didn't think about it like that, but yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Mm.
So once you finally got into the art program in your
Mhm.
fourth year,
Mhm.
what was that journey like? Was it what you imagined it to be?
Like when I was finishing up?
Yeah, because you said you did like the advertisement for 3 years
Yeah.
and then you got into, or was it?
Yeah. So I did, I was basically like in my last year of advertising when I started my first year of art school.
So
But
art school is like, that was like the brand center? Was that the brand center or no?
so it's the graphic design bachelor's degree,
Gotcha.
basically.
For sure.
But yeah, so, and that's, I had a teacher, her name was Nicole, and she gave me, she connected me with a person who gave me, and I don't know if you've read this yet, but it's called Art on My Mind by Bell Hooks.
Mm-mm.
And it basically just started this whole journey of just like why I'm doing what I'm doing. But we can get to that later if you want.
For sure. I mean,
Yeah.
if you could touch on it now, because
Yeah.
yeah. Like, what was that journey like once you read that book?
So I'll start with the book. The book is like a bunch of essays, but one essay really stuck out to me. And it was an essay called In Our Glory. And it was talking about like how Black people use their homes as galleries. And so it was talking about, when you go into a Black person's home and you see the photos on the wall, it's like, it doesn't have to necessarily be this way. Like, I don't think people are intentionally thinking of it this way, but you fill your home with like images that you want to see more of, or the people that you love, or just like things that you aren't getting in like the mainstream media, or like, around, like what you're surrounded by as far as media goes.
Yeah.
And she talked about it was mostly geared towards a Black Southern home as a site of resistance, as far as like photography goes. And that was just like, oh, like my mind was blown. And she was just talking about how when your history has been erased or like dimmed or anything of that nature, you have a obsession with documenting things and how important it is for a Black person, I'm not even going to say a person of color, but a Black person to be telling a Black person's story. And I was just like, this is like, it put into words what I was trying to like say and do with my work at that time, because at that time I had started doing like client work with photography, and I really, since I had a full-time job, I was very choosy about who I wanted to work with, and it was mostly Black people. I would say almost exclusively Black people. And that, when I read that, it was just like confirmation of just like why I wanted to do that. I really didn't go into it thinking about it like that, but I was like, oh, this is what I'm trying to do. Yeah. So that's when I'd like discovered that book. And then ever since, it's just been like it was one of my like lifelong dreams to do an exhibit with Bell Hooks. Obviously she passed away. But I really wanted to do an exhibit with her and kind of her words along with like my photography, and it was gonna be like redesigned into a Black Southern home. I had this whole proposal. But and maybe I'll still do it, but
for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of where it was put into words for me.
Yeah, so I mean that's incredible for you to make a decision to go into college for another 4 years, and then like that fourth year you received a book that ultimately like changed your life, or changed the course of like your art per se, and how you wanted to move forward with it.
Yeah.
What's the name of the book again?
Art on My Mind.
Art on My Mind. I haven't read that, but I definitely will pick that up. I think that'll be my next read.
Yeah, because you read 100 pages. You do.
Yeah, I did read her book. I think All About Love. I think that's what it's called.
Yes,
I read that one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna pick that up. Okay. So it makes sense now. Just like your photography now, and so something I talked about with another person was, having the ability to select and choose the type of clients you want, because like you are sustainable in like one way, and like when you are sustainable in one way, you don't necessarily have to take whatever type of clients. You said you started taking photography when you were like in high school or something like that, or probably before then.
So like photography classes?
No, just you were just taking pictures.
Practicing, yeah.
Yeah, and then ultimately getting to the point of starting to take exclusively Black clients during like your fourth year.
Yep.
What made you, I mean, obviously you read the book, but what made you start to get to the point of taking clients when initially photography was just kind of like a hobby per se?
The first real reason, honestly, is I needed money.
Okay.
I didn't need money. I wanted more money. I'm the type of person where budgeting is cool, but like, I'm like, okay, I need to make more money. Like, I can't budget anymore. Like, I just need more money. So that was the first reason. And I think the one that comes after that is, sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, when was the point that you started to do photography?
Oh, for clients.
Yeah, for clients.
I think I was still doing photography, but it was like taking up more of my time. And my initial reaction was, okay, some of these people are going to say no and I give them a price. So like, let me just do that.
For sure.
And see where it goes. And people started paying. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna buy the stuff that I want, as far as like gear goes, and I am just gonna see where I didn't really have a plan, and that's mostly because I had already had a full-time job. So I was just like, okay, let's just see where this goes. And one of my really good friends from college was really interested in photography, and he kind of like showed me the ropes of just like the technical part, because I just like, I can figure it out. Like, I'm always on manual mode and I can figure it out, but he's like, okay, let me just show you the basics. And I'm like, okay, cool, okay, cool. So once we figured that part out, I was like, all right, I'm gonna start charging people because it's taking up a lot of my time, and I love leisure. Okay.
You love your free time?
Yes, I do. And so when it started to like cut into that, I was like, okay, I have to make it worthwhile. Like, what would I, charge to make my time, make it worth it for me?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how that all started.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah. So when did you get to the point, because I know you also came out with a book.
Yes.
A book.
Yes. I worked on a film with Chaz called Don't Touch My Hair. And I was doing behind the scenes work for it. And I've also realized I love doing behind the scenes work. I would much rather do behind the scenes than be the first photographer.
Okay.
But yeah, I was doing that work, and also had like some work from just like personal projects that I really wanted to be this. I wanted it to be in a collection, and I don't know where I read this or heard this, but I think the conversation was around like, outside of a digital world, how will people view your work in 20 years? Like, what if Instagram goes away?
For sure. It's possible.
And it's like, if all your work, well, obviously like a website, you can own it forever. Well, we'll see. But how will people view your work? And I was like, I don't have any work in physical form. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to just try it out. I love print. And so I was like, I'm gonna just do it.
Yeah.
And so I really was thinking about like, how I wanted people to view my work in about 20 years. And I was like, I want them to have like a piece that I curated.
Yeah.
And that I was very intentional about laying out. And it's exactly how I want people to experience the work. And so, yeah, that's kind of how that started. Just trying to put all my favorite pieces together. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that because for me, everything I do, I think about it from a legacy standpoint.
Yeah.
All right. So like you did a book, and I did my first book back in 2016 because I was thinking of the same thing too. I was like, if like these platforms go away and all of the digital work it's there, like where's it gonna go? Because I remember I was on a platform back in the day. It was called Bebo. I was on Bebo, and it doesn't exist now. And like all of I created some like incredible pieces on there, also with MySpace too. And I can't go back on those places because it doesn't really exist.
It doesn't exist.
Right? So it's like, how can you create something that's self-sustainable over the course of years? Is by creating something physical, right? Or creating a platform that like or platform / website that you can have yourself and like people can continuously
you have control over.
Exactly. So like honestly, like that's why like this platform kind of exists. Like it's on Instagram, but it's not on Instagram. Like you have to go somewhere else to be able to view it. And so I'm thinking about it from like a standpoint of like 20, 30, 40, 100 years from now. Like how will people be able to like view this content and how, instead of them imagining
how it went,
they can like see it, like they can see like the story that you went through like 100 years ago, right? Like they can see like the type of person, like your body language, like how you respond to things, like you can like visually see that. And so like that's why I wanted to be able to create this platform for like a legacy standpoint. And so like for you it was that book. So that's I completely relate to that a lot. All right, bet. So what tools were you using? What kind of camera were you using? Lightroom? Like
I think at that point I had a Canon 70.
Okay.
And I was mostly using Lightroom because Photoshop, I don't know that we learned Photoshop in school.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
An advertisement?
I don't know that. I think we learned about it. But I never you have to get used to Photoshop. Like Photoshop is not very intuitive when you're first starting.
Okay, yeah.
And so Lightroom is the easier version in my mind.
For sure. Editing wise, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of my work in advertising always had to do with photography. So making stuff in Photoshop was like, I'm gonna just not do that. But yeah, I think Lightroom and the Canon 7D, that was wow. Yeah, that was it. Come a long way.
So you eventually went to film, right? You had a film. Did you have a film camera?
Yeah, I have one now. What is the name of that one? I don't know why I'm blanking on the name.
Is it a Nikon?
It's I don't know how to pronounce it actually. It's
okay.
Mamiya.
I don't know.
Yeah, me either. But it's medium format.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's the one where you look down the I don't know the technical term.
For sure. Yeah.
But I love film because I love the process.
Okay.
I love that I cannot see the photos. So it's just like you capture the moment and you keep moving. It's not like do I look okay? It's just like you get it, you keep moving. And that's like when I go on vacation now, I do not carry my camera at all. I carry like either my film camera or disposable cameras because I'm trying to be more intentional about just like being in the moment and like literally just being and trying to like capture it as I go, but not like, oh, this wasn't technically right, or like, oh, this is, it's just like, okay, the pictures is there, I captured it.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter
for sure. Yeah, like I mean,
the end product is.
That's kind of like how it was back in the day before we had like all of these options to continuously take pictures. Like you had to really capture that moment. Like you had to be intentional with that film because
you only got 24 shots.
Exactly.
So you aren't just snapping a million pictures. It's like, and the crazy thing is with film, when I go to process it, I can remember every single like shot. And with digital, it's like you take 300.
Right.
Like,
so you don't remember all of them. Yeah.
But like with film, I literally can remember every single shot.
That is crazy.
Beautiful. I love going on vacation too, but I also love shooting film.
Yeah, vacation is nice. Vacation is definitely nice. I definitely want to take myself on a vacation soon. It seems like it's been a minute, honestly. So with the process of film, did you learn that from school? Because like you said, like I know like you said like they taught you about the process, but like film, do you think there was like a correlation between going through the process of learning how to film and like kind of like what you learned? And
I didn't learn anything about film in school. I took a class at Studio 23 actually.
Okay.
I took a class there to learn how to process it. And then just went from there because I didn't know how to load it. Like I had no idea. I just know that I liked the texture that it has. And I love the colors. Like I feel like digital cameras cannot replicate the colors that you get from film. And so I was like, I need to learn how to use it because my first film camera I got from like a thrift store for $25 and I wasn't even sure if it was gonna work. And so yeah, I learned at Studio 23. Shout out to them.
They made a you Studio 23 basically changed someone's life basically from that's amazing.
Learn how to shoot film.
Wow.
How to process
for sure
film.
For sure. I mean, I'm sure it looks good.
Yeah,
I'm sure it looks good. So have you framed any of those shots that you've taken?
I have not. I have printed them all though.
Okay.
I try to encourage everyone to print their photos, so I printed them all. But I haven't framed them yet. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So once you graduated in 2017, did you your direction? Did you know where you wanted to go to, like after school? Like did you want to like go full time with a company, or did you want to continue to pursue like this side passion? Full time.
I feel like I've always known this, but I know that I knew that I didn't want to be doing it full time, mostly because I loved I loved to say when I wasn't going to do it, or when I wasn't going to accept work, or things like that. But I also like really value my free time. Like I want it to be fun. Like I think I was also just like, if I do this full time, like I didn't want to have to say yes. I think that was my main thing. I didn't want to have to say yes to work that I didn't want to do. And I think also I've been working full time since 2011. So I've always had like a nice little cushion. And I think that's also shaped my view on accepting client work, because I don't have to do it. Like I legit will give you a refund if like I'm always asking, do you think we're a good fit? Or like I'm at the very beginning, like, let me see if we're a good fit before I say yes.
Yeah.
Because if we're not. Like I'm completely fine if it's not a fit. Like, and that's okay. I will give you a recommendation of who I think will work well. I've always wanted that control over my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting perspective. I've definitely heard some people who would keep a job so they can do their side job. So they can do their side job on the side, basically, because they just love to do it, because their full job would sustain the ability for them to do their side job, right? Or their side passion. But then you got other like entrepreneurs who are like, I'm quitting this 9 to 5. I just want to do this like full time, right? So you have like two different perspectives of that, right?
Also, I like my full-time job.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, if you like it, then
also-
it helps, right? And if it pays money, like,
Yeah.
it helps too at the same time. So,
Yeah.
like, you know, most people have a job that they don't necessarily like. So,
Right.
so that's the
Right.
difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you spoke about, I've never personally done this, like,
Mm-hmm.
the fit for a client for you. Like, I've never thought about that. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't, like, taken, like, every single client, but,
Mhm.
like, I select and choose what kind of clients I want to
Mhm.
take if I
Mhm.
based off of the project, not the client per se,
Gotcha.
right? Like, so
Mhm.
from your perspective, it's like, if it doesn't fit, like if the client doesn't fit me or
Mhm.
fit like what I'm trying to do,
Mhm.
then I'm not going to work
I'm
with them.
good.
I think that's like a different perspective. Can you kind of
Mhm.
like talk about the process of like you choosing a
Yeah.
client?
I feel like photography is very. I'll stick with photography, for this topic. But photography is it can be a very intimate thing. Like, to be photographed by someone, you have to be vulnerable enough to be yourself in front of the camera. And it is also my job to get you there, to get you comfortable enough to where you feel like you can be yourself. But I think so. I've never been the one to like advertise my services as far as like, oh, I'm having a sale, or oh, this is my price, or this is, how it works. I probably like close to all of my clients either knew me first or they've been referred by someone who I've worked with. Like, I
Word of mouth.
rarely get people who have no idea who I am or no idea of like who I've worked with.
Yeah.
Like, almost all of my clients are word of mouth. And so for me, I'm like, cool, this is great. Like how I work.
Exactly.
That like it's going to be a very detailed situation. Like, we're not about to just show up to a space and I don't know what you're wearing. Like, I need to know what you're wearing. I need to know like what you want to capture. Like, there are a lot of things that like goes into behind the scenes before we even get to the shoot.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like they have to be a good fit for me and I have to be a good fit for them, or like it'll work. Like, obviously anybody can take anybody's photo, but like 100%. I want it to be like great. So yeah. I'm like, this has to work.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, it's fine.
For sure.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of love and intimacy, like in the pictures that you've taken over the course of years. And I can see how that has to correlate with the kind of client that you work with. What is it like to shoot, just like, I don't want to say shoot black people, but like take pictures of black people in different kinds of light that we haven't necessarily seen before?
It has been the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced, mostly because black people are so like multi-dimensional. And one of my favorite parts is like shooting someone that I know and like love kind of through Instagram. And then shooting them in a more vulnerable space and realizing they kind of aren't the same person, which is I think it's even better. I don't know. I just feel like I love getting a deeper version of people than what I'm used to seeing or hearing about. And it being like their profile photo or like their most liked Instagram photo. Like, that is like one of my favorite things. Like, I just feel like there are so many stories to tell. And I just think that it's beautiful. Like, I wouldn't want to tell anybody else's story. Yeah. I have no interest in it. Even though I do that for my full-time job. Sure. In different ways. But I truly love telling the stories of black people. Yeah.
So going forward, that's you only, if would you tell anyone else's story? Because it seems like you said exclusively you only work with Black clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, right?
I will say this. I work with other clients. I rarely post them.
Okay.
My Instagram is only Black people.
Okay.
And that's for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I respect it.
I won't say I won't work with you, but I love us.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah. Have you thought about getting into film, like video, and telling stories in that way?
I haven't. I haven't. It hasn't even crossed my mind, actually.
Okay. So what type of stories do you want to tell through photography with Black people?
I'm actually thinking about taking a break next year to figure this out. A break from like client work altogether, because I feel like I need a year to play, or a year, and I don't want to give it a year. We'll say however long it takes to play. I feel like I miss playing. I don't know, what that would look like, but I think it would be centered around normalcy. Just because I feel like we always see images of people doing something and, being their highest self. And it's just like, what do you look like normally? Like, what do you, like, I don't know, what does your house look like normally? Or like, what does your environment feel like normally? Like, I feel like I'm mostly interested in like this normal, joyous spirit of Black people. And I think that's why I was really into Barrett's work.
Okay. Yeah.
It was very beautiful. So yeah, I think that is gonna be the gist of what's next. But I just want to play for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's definitely intentional about it when it comes to filming, like specifically Black people as well. Do you have any photographers that you are inspired by? Like, because when you speak about your work, I immediately thought about like Gordon Parks, obviously.
Yeah,
for
my
sure.
gosh.
Like just like how he just like took pictures of every day, basically.
Yeah. That's my man. No, but he has this piece called Boy and the June Bug.
Yeah.
And it is probably top 5, one of my favorite pieces of all time. It's just like he's I don't know what went behind, creating that piece, but just to see a Black boy like just being, I don't know why that's so beautiful to me, but it is. The colors were insanely great. I just love that piece so much. Gordon Parks, I would say Renelle Medrano. I love her and her work. I also love a lot of art that's not photography.
Okay.
I feel like that is also very inspiring to me. I think I love anything that Solange makes. I feel like she makes things that I did not know I needed. And I love Christina Martinez.
Okay.
She's a painter. I love her work. Yeah, I think a lot of the inspiration that I really love doesn't necessarily have to be photography. I just think I love what I love. Yeah, it doesn't have. I don't know that it's always photography.
I respect it.
Yeah,
I respect it. Have you ever seen the Kendrick Lamar video called Elements?
No.
You should watch that if you love Gordon Parks.
Wait. Oh, did he? That's the one where he redid I don't know if they were in Alabama. I know the one with the gun.
Yeah.
The little.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because a lot of the imagery in there was inspired by like Gordon Parks.
Yeah,
so,
I do remember that.
Yeah. That was like a beautiful, beautiful
That's one
shot.
of my favorite series.
Yes.
From him.
Yeah. Did you? Because I know like they had an exhibition from him a couple of years ago here for Gordon Parks. Yeah. Yeah. You went there? I missed it. I missed it. Was it so good? Was it good?
It was. I don't remember specific things, but I do remember. I think I remember things in photographs. Actually, I do remember how it was set up, and it was like larger. The entrance, anyway, was like larger than life. Like you felt like completely enveloped in the photo, which was insane. Yeah, I definitely went.
I regret that. I don't regret many things in life, but I regret not going to see that for sure. For me, like when I was taking pictures, I was taking pictures because I wanted to document my life. Mm-hmm. Right, I wanted to remember the moments, remember specific moments of my life, because they say as you get older, some people memories begin to fade. You don't remember as they once were. And so I figured like if I can take a picture, then I can remember that moment like instantly. And so that's why I started to take pictures.
That's so crazy. That's normally how I remember things. Like if I've taken a picture of it, I can remember it.
Exactly.
Wow.
So like I was going to ask you, is that kind of like the same way? And you just kind of like responded, yes.
That's so wild.
Yeah. So you could just like look at a picture and just you remember that moment and like how you felt. Like that's how it was for me. Like I knew exactly how I felt in that moment. I knew like where I was standing when I took that picture. I knew like everything.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. But I haven't really taken pictures in a minute. So, and I also don't have like a camera to take photos.
Phone.
It's not the same. Like with the film, it's vastly different than like a digital.
Okay.
And so like the phone is not the same as a digital. I mean, it is a digital camera, but it's not as like a SLR.
Okay.
So it's not the same. I want to be able to hold a camera like with like two hands instead of one, basically.
Okay.
So it's different. It's different. And a lot of people haven't like realized I haven't like really taken pictures in a minute. And so like people still ask me like, can you do this? Can you do this? I'm like, I don't really do that anymore. But like you said, I can show you to someone else who does. And so maybe I will find my way back into a season where I'm taking pictures again, but like this is not the season for that.
And that's okay. That's okay.
100%. So I'm assuming that you learned graphic design while you were in school.
Yes. So I got one degree in creative advertising, one in graphic design.
Okay.
Yep.
And so now you kind of do graphic design full time?
Yes. So I am a graphic designer and photographer full time, and then I do web design and photography with my business.
Okay. So tell us about your business.
My business has developed into a web design and photography business. At first, I was doing branding work and realized I didn't really like to do it. And so I switched from that to creating websites, and I'm still doing photography. But like I said earlier, I think I think I've gotten to a point where I feel like I'm working for someone and not really working for myself. Yes, obviously I still have a business and I'm technically working for myself, but I feel like I am you have to compromise. Like you can't be very precious with client work because you have to collaborate. Like you have to, if they have a different vision than you have to meet somewhere in the middle. And that's cool, but I think for me next year I want to figure out what my voice is as far as like, what do I want to make without like anybody's input? Like, what does that look like now? Because I know what it looked like, you know, when I was in school and was just like making work for the sake of making it.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss that. I miss where my mind goes when I don't have to do anything,
Mm-hmm.
or when I can be quiet without a screen, any screens. I miss playing. And so, yeah, I think when money's involved, there's a certain degree of, you know, you want your client to have the best possible product. And that comes along with, you know, compromise, and that's cool. But I think what's next for me is playing.
Yeah.
I'm happy about that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Can't wait.
To be able to give yourself that time to figure it out, or just like play and find new ways of doing things, and just. Honestly, I'm gonna say, like, I've never thought about that. Like, I've never just thought about just like giving myself some time just to explore and just like do different things and not necessarily think about like the bottom line per se, right? Like, just
that's the thing
it's
about
been a minute.
business. It's like you want to not think about it, but you kind of have to.
Yeah.
And what would it look like if we didn't have to think about that anymore?
Right.
Yeah.
What type of person do you think you will be if we didn't necessarily have to worry about like those things?
Honestly, I think it would be shooting. I think my subject would be the same. So I still would want to capture Black people, but I think I would want to focus more on the people in my life. So my family, and just like what that looks like, because I feel like everything has been it's been outward and trying to like tell these other stories. But I kind of really want to go inward and tell my family story for myself. And that's another thing. Like, I literally just want to do it for me, like, and for, you know, obviously the generations to come. But like, the you know, the general idea is for me, and that's it. It's just something I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, like, when I was doing photography, it was just for me. It was just, like I said, for me to like just capture those moments and remember. Like, I wasn't trying to sell it to anybody. I was just like, I want to remember these moments and these times. But then, like, because I was posting it on Instagram, people started to like,
people just reach out, and it's like, oh yeah, sure.
I was hesitant at first. I'm not gonna lie, because I wasn't sure if like the quality of work was what a client wanted, right? Even though someone like, even though a person reached out, it was like, I liked it because I liked it. But I don't know if your taste is the same as my taste.
Gotcha.
Right? So I was like, I don't know if I shoot it this way, or if I change my mind to shoot something totally different, are you still gonna like it like that? So I was hesitant at first, but like, those were the times where I was just kind of like doing it for me. I mean, honestly, like, most of my work, I'm doing it for me.
Yeah.
It's like, only, I think my perspective just changes when I do it for like a client. And so like, when there's money involved, it's just like completely different. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's like really great that like you just want to have that time for yourself and give yourself, I don't want to say a year because you said you don't want to say a year, but like
we'll see how long it takes.
a certain amount of time that you just want to do something and play and do it for yourself and, you know, create these memories. I've had a guest on this season basically said they wanted to get back into like documentation for them and like their family, because I think she said that like it was either her or her husband. One of them that said like I think one of their parents passed and they couldn't remember like what their parents sounded like, so they wanted to be able to document for like they have kids, and so they wanted to be able to document for like their kids, so like in the future, you know, when they pass, you know, their kids can still remember what they sounded like or what they looked like and what they were doing. And so cool. I kind of like compared it to like yourself, like the documentation you want to do for yourself and your family is ultimately kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, it is. I think it's so important to, like I was saying earlier, make sure making sure who's in, or how can I put this? Being intentional about who's in charge of telling your story or telling your family's story, because you're closest to them. And if they can't tell it, the next best person should be telling it.
For sure.
You know. But no, I think that is so cool. I have a dream of creating something in the realm of like how ancestry does like the tree branching of your family, but I want to add an element of storytelling. So like, what was that person's favorite song? Like, what beyond the, like, they give you like documents and stuff, but like, what beyond the documents? Who was that person? What you know, photos do you have of them? Like, I want a complete story, as complete as you can get. And I think that is kind of like what I want to start working on for my family. And I think that comes from like my grandparents. I never got to meet my maternal grandmother, so I know her through stories. And my paternal grandmother passed away when I was really young, so I have been learning about her through stories. So it's like, how do we, for the next generation, what does that look like as far as, you know, them understanding where they came from? Because it's important to know that.
For sure.
Yeah.
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 I think that's why like the evaluations for social media companies are so high, because even though like we're kind of going through the things now, right?
Yeah.
But like if you think about it in the context of like 100 years from now, right? The thing that you're asking for, you can see.
Yep.
Because people, like, you know what your grandmother thought. Like, at that time, you knew what type of music she was listening to at that time, because like she either tweeted it or she posted about it in the stories. Like, so I think that's why the valuations for social media companies are so massive, because they're going to have all of this data on people.
Yeah.
Now.
It's just crazy to think about.
Exactly, right?
Do I want my, you know, future, I don't know, to be reading my tweets from?
Facts.
Oh, goodness. It's just like, you know, those old Facebook.
100, when they pop up, the memories.
It's so
cringy.
Terrible. I hate them. Just like the capitalization. Woo, it was it was a mess.
It was it was lowercase, capital.
Yeah,
it was like
a little bit everything.
Like it was crazy. It was crazy just to think about like at them times, like we were comfortable with saying those things or like doing those things.
Real free.
But now it's like a vastly different story.
Yeah.
It's a different story.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about the things that you've accomplished in the past. What do you see for yourself in the next couple of years? What are the things that you want to accomplish?
I think at the forefront is free time to play, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, and seeing where that takes me. I think I still have the goal of working with Bell Hooks's words, since she is not here with us physically, and creating something with her words and my photography. And then I want to work behind the scenes for Solange. Like, that is doing photography, of course. Yeah, I and I talked about this earlier, just like realizing I don't need to be or want to be kind of like the main, I don't know what you call it in the photography world, but it's like the main person shooting.
Yeah.
I would love to do behind the scenes of her on like whatever
Yeah.
at this point. Just because I think her mind is incredible. And I know that it comes with the team as well, but she always gives me what I need or what I didn't know I needed.
For sure.
And I would love to photograph her.
Mm.
Yeah. Those are the main things. First of all, it's play. I need free time. And play doesn't even have to mean work. It could just be being, like, when you don't have to be anywhere or do anything. What do you do?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what that feels like. I don't remember the last time, you know, for an extended period of time, more than like a vacation or like a week, that I've just been able to play.
Yeah. Yeah. I realize like freedom comes with having capital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Right. To be like truly free, you have to have money, basically.
Yeah.
And so there's a guy I know of him, and he says like, because he's made a lot of money, and he says like, I'm free because he's like, he doesn't necessarily have to work for money anymore. Yeah. And he's in a space where like his money just kind of like works for himself. So he's like, he understands what it means to be free and to have that time to do whatever. Yeah. To play, to sleep, to do nothing. Like that's like that's true. I believe that's true freedom in an American sense, right? Like,
you choose how you spend your time.
You choose how you
legit.
Exactly. Because you know, we understand with like capturing moments that like moments change, time passes, and like the only true currency we really have is like the time, basically. So like if you can find a way to be able to get that back with like having money, that's like the ultimate goal in many ways. For sure. So what would you say to a person in the beginning process of like their journey, you know, someone who didn't necessarily start to become like a creative or an artist per se until like their early 20s? What would you say to that person?
I would first say, please get comfortable with there not being a plan or a blueprint. And part B of that is get comfortable with knowing that this work is a personal journey. Like, there will be many people doing the exact same thing as you, but the difference is you. Like, no one can create what you can create, and I think it's important to before putting your work on Instagram or out into the world, make sure you like it. Make sure you like what you're making, and make sure it's coming from you. Obviously, everyone will be influenced by someone, but make sure it's work that you like and that you're making it because you just want to make it. I think it's so important to like develop your style and develop like what your message is going to be personally before, you know, the likes come. Because it's like, once you get the likes, I feel like once you get the likes and you haven't kind of determined what it is you want to say and what you want to do, it's easy to be like, oh, they like me doing this, so I'm going to do this. So I would say just like in yourself, make sure you like the work that you plan to put out, and also ask questions. I am not a formally trained photographer, but I have asked every question you can think of. With the technical things, I feel like I have the vision. I don't always know how to fully make it possible, but I surround myself with people who can help me in that way. But I think it's important to have that initial idea created just solely by you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Hey, I told her before we started this that she was going to be dropping some gems, and she dropped the gems, especially that one.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you for coming out. Thank you for taking some time to just us having this chat for people to be able to look at and be inspired by. Is there anything you want to ask me? Is there anything else we could potentially talk about, or are you?
I want to know more about you. I feel like you can be mysterious. I want to know more about you.
Okay, anything specific?
I want to know. Well, okay. I want to know two things. I want to know. I want to know why you do what you do. Like, what's your reason? And let me do part B later. Okay.
For sure.
Let's start with that one.
As far as just creating in general, or this platform in particular?
I think I know a little bit about why this one was created, so
Okay.
that I'd rather know in general.
For sure. I think like one of my goals in life is to inspire.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think like many people are called to inspire, but I intentionally use my platform, when I say my platform, like Instagram,
Yeah.
and like the things that I post on there, just to inspire people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe if I'm able to do it, then like others are able to do it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just coming from like my background, and I kind of
Mhm.
like spoke about this a little bit, like in a couple, like last season.
Mm-hmm.
Last season I spoke about, it was an episode with Lauren, I think like towards the end,
Mm-hmm.
and I spoke about like how I didn't necessarily think I was supposed to be here, like as a like human,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think like my birth was kind of like an accident per se.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, like it's either I can look at like my being here from like two different perspectives. It's either I could take advantage of this time because I kind of like cheated my way through per se,
Mm-hmm.
and use that to like inspire people, or I could have
Mhm.
looked at it as like, yo, like why am I here? I'm not supposed
Yeah.
to be here right now. So,
Mhm.
but I just choose the former,
Mm-hmm.
basically,
Mm-hmm.
to inspire others and to live a life of to live the life that they want to live,
Yeah.
you know, because we have the gift of free will to do what we want.
Mm-hmm.
But also we also have the power from like what we speak and how we speak,
Mm-hmm.
right? So whatever you say after I am, that is like what you become.
Yep.
Right? So for me, I just use the I am in, you know, something positive
Mm-hmm.
after that, because we've all, especially in the Black community, we've seen like the opposite, like of like the negative after the I am. And so I was like,
And I've also taught ourselves
exactly.
the opposite.
Exactly. And so like I want to be able to see what is the positive side of that. And so like every time I do something and there is a return from it, a return of investment from like the positive things I do or say, then I know like if I can do it, because in many ways I believed that like I wasn't supposed to be here, that like then you can do it too. Right? So like I tried to I've instilled that into myself, but I wanted to like instill that into like other people. And so like that's why like I kind of like do what I do to inspire and, you know, be a catalyst for others.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
No, that's beautiful. Nice.
Appreciate it. That's it. Yeah. Part B. Okay.
No, I think that answered what I was hoping to get.
Okay. Cool. For sure. Yeah. Thank you once again.
Thank you
for
this
coming out. Yeah. It was great. It was awesome. You dropped gems. And you gave me your time. Basically, that's like the most valuable thing that we have as humans.
Yes, because this is all temporary.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
All of this is temporary. So, yes. So that is Shay.
Cool. Thank you.
My name is Antonio Knoxx, and this was the Gradient Radio.